My name is Scott Dyashot. I'm with the Linguistic Institute at Puyallup University. This presentation is going to be on some of the lesser known software tools that SIL has. If you go to software.sil.org and go to products and then scroll down, some of these things we see that we use often: Bloom, Flex, Keyman, Paratext, Seymour, and then some we don't know. We don't know what they do. They've been around a while. They were designed to serve a specific purpose, to scratch a certain itch. And I thought it would be good just to kind of pull out some of them that I think are interesting for various reasons, and then we'll work through them. I'm going to try to organize this presentation based on topic, as in when a tool might be used in a language document development or a translation project. So we're going to start with Cog. Cog is a tool that's used to help with survey. Surveys, when people would go, first off, they'll hit the libraries or any stores of knowledge looking for what they can about a language group or an area. And then they will go out into that language group to see if the data that are in the libraries are still accurate, because things change over time. They'll take a list of words and try to get a collection of words for in that language that kind of go along with the word, like the word common words like fire, sun, kitchen, cook, mother, father, those sorts of things. It's called a word list, and there's a well-documented, well-formed list of words that we have that we use to collect data for down in Southeast Asia. So then you can take that data and import it into a tool called Cog. And come on, I thought I brought it up. And here's Cog. All right, so this is Cog. Here's my list of words, and we've got several languages, and each of those at the top is like an Excel table. At the top are the columns are the word, the English gloss, and then these are in phonetic form, the words in that particular language. So then Cog can take all that data and compare it. You can compare, this is a heat map, if you will. So the darker, the more red the color, the more closely they're related. So if you were to look, you see that this language here is really closely related to this language, because a 93% cognate match. And 93% of the words are the same, or at least sound the same anyway. And orange and yellow on down into green. And then you can analyze. This is an interesting tree. When I look at this map, it kind of reminds me, like in the United States, we have our March Madness brackets. But as opposed, it's going from outside in, which are the most closely related, and then I think the bars kind of signify where they are tied. So if you click out here at the tree, the top, you see that the blue ones, anything to the right of this, are related. And then if you click out here, these are all kind of related. And then of course, you can see that down here we have another set, and these aren't really related to the other set until you get way out to the outside. There are different kinds of graphs. This is the hierarchical graph. There's a network graph. I can see where they meet. You can see that the Northern Katong, Southern Katong are related as the name would imply. But these are related, and so you can see that. So it's kind of, it provides you some information. If you have uploaded map information, this language set doesn't have map information provided, you can see where they are. Go back to compare. You can do, so this is that heat map. I meant to click on variety pairs. You can compare one language to another, and you can see like this language, this Alak compared to Bru Para, there's only a 20%, I'm rounding up, match. So this is Cog. It really is quite interesting. I've often wondered what would happen if you were to take all the languages in Southeast Asia and shove them in and see what would happen. The hierarchical graph, that would be interesting. I just find that kind of stuff interesting. So that is, that's Cog, that's used for survey, right? Another thing we can do in analysis, I'm going to go close Cog, is this software tool called, I always get it mispronounced wrong, is Asheninka. And Asheninka, or Asheninka is how I want to pronounce it, is used to help you work out the syllabification of a language. So if I were to open up Asheninka, get back here, is right here. I'll bring it over. So this is the user interface for Asheninka. You can see on the left, we have segment inventory. These are all the sounds in the language and how they would appear in script. In this language, they have, I'm using English as an example. So we have uppercase and lowercase graphemes for the same sound. You can see I've got some clusters. You want to divide things up into classes, you know, consonants, nasals, vowels, and of course you can have nasals as be a subset of your consonants. You can have, then you have syllable patterns, which ones are the language use, and you build this as you go. So your consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel ending with a nasal. You just kind of build it as you go. And then here are your words. And your words can come in via, this is a text file, import just a notepad file with a list of words. You can bring it in and you have your words and how they're marked. I'm going to click on Tools, Parser. I'm going to click on Agile here, Parser, try a word, and it's going to try it. And you can see that it has identified that all these graphemes are actually in my inventory. And they say it's a vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. And you can see that it's provided an example of syllable breaks, but also how it would break vowel, consonant, vowel. And you can kind of teach it. If that's not quite right, you can go back and you can educate it a bit. And then, so I'm going to, so then you can just, I'm going to do parser, try all words, parse all words. This is actually to run it. And you can see that all these words worked except for my word fruit. And I can double click on fruit and I can try this word, see why it failed. Try it. And it failed because I have consonant, consonant. And I'm going to close this. And in my syllable patterns, I don't have an example of consonant, consonant. And I don't want to have a consonant, consonant. What happened really is in my segment inventory, the grapheme, the sound fur, as in the beginning of it, I want to have those as a cluster. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to click on the plus button and I'm going to type FR. And this is a description. It's just the FR sound. And then it's going to be FR. And so anytime I see FR, it's going to see it. And this is an order. I'm also going to have a capital because this language uses capital for some things, for sentence initial or proper nouns. Okay, so now I've added a segment. Now I need to go add it to my sounds. I've already got consonant cluster set up. So I'm going to click over here and add, come on. Oh, it brought it to the wrong screen. Sorry. And I'm going to go down to my list, click the checkbox. And now FR is in my consonant cluster. And as consonant cluster is already included in consonants, should be able to run words, parse all words. And now fruit is happy. So that's Asheninka used for syllable, for helping to find syllables. Unfortunately, at the moment, the Asheninka does not work with languages like Thai, where I'll show you. I have an example of it. Open project, Thai. And my word chicken. The problem with the word chicken is even though it's pronounced guy, it looks like the vowel comes before the consonant. And in Thai, they actually type the vowel before the consonant. So Asheninka will see that as vowel consonant, even though the consonant clusters are consonant vowel. So Asheninka at this moment doesn't work for languages like Thai that follow the script of sometimes having the vowel come before the consonant. But we have a lot of languages in Southeast Asia that are either using Latin alphabets or using the national scripts, but modifying it such that it's what you see is what you hear. So in those instances, Asheninka will work, but unfortunately not in Thai or languages like Thai, but that's being worked on. So that is Asheninka. I'm gonna go ahead and close that. And as I'm working right across the line here. The next example I want to show is something called SILKin. SILKin, you can hear the word kin is relational. This is an interesting tool used to help you come up with family trees is the way I can describe it. So I have to go way back to my days of learning language, culture, and acquisition to where you realize that different cultures view relationships within family structures differently. They have different terms. Some structures, all cousins are viewed as the same. It can vary from different culture to culture, and SILKin can be used to help you document that. So I should point out that some of these tools, they work, but they will bring various degrees of pain along the way. SILKin is a Java program, and you actually have to click on the jar file. You have to have Java installed and click on the jar file to bring up Asheninka. I keep saying that, to bring up SILKin. And I'm going to bring up, so this is wrong one. Did I not have it up? Okay, this is SILKin. So this is what you might expect is a family tree. You have, in this family tree, you have father, mother, and 3 children. I've called them Alphabet, Betty Bet, Charlie Bet, Dolores Bet, and Evelyn Bet. I am not at all original in my naming schemes. And I also have the father and mother of Alphabet. So I want to show you how to add people to SILKin's family tree. Once you get it started, you right click and you have the option for male, female, or union being marriage. So I'm going to click on male, and I'm going to go ahead and click on female since I'm here. I can drag that up here. So male is triangle, female is circle, and down here in the information, I'm going to switch this down to person 7, and it switches to person 7. And then using sociological terms, the person you are editing is always referred to as ego. The other person you're talking about when referencing ego is always alter, as in the other. So this is ego. This is Betty Bet's parents. Ego is going to be Kermit Frog. And then we're going to do the mother. And this is going to be Miss Piggy. All right. And now they are married. So I'm going to create a union. You right click again and click on union. And that's the equal sign. To show that these two are a part of this union, you click on them and you drag them to just above the equal sign. Okay, so now you show that those two are a part of, those two make up the union. And then you want to demonstrate that Betty Bet is a child or offspring as a result of the union. You just drag Betty Bet to where she is underneath the equal sign, and you can see the little circle is purple. So now Betty Bet is there. If I wanted to show that Betty Bet had a brother, right click, male, and his name is going to be Fozzie Bear. And I'm going to drag him under the union purple. So now Betty Bet has a brother named Fozzie Bear. Okay, so now we need to we want to capture or catalog how Betty refers to her parents. So I'm going to click on Betty. I'm going to make current ego Betty Bet. And now I want to edit the information for alter egos for the others. So I'm going to click on Alphabet. So we can see I've already populated this. The current alter is Alphabet. That's her husband. They refer to each other as husband and wife. The children have already been populated. I'm going to click here. So now I've just changed the alter, son and mother, Dolores, daughter, mother, and also Evelyn, daughter, mother. But I don't have Kermit and Piggy. So with Betty Bet as the ego, I click on Kermit the Frog and type ego or Betty refers to Alter or Kermit as father, and it's got to be lowercase. If you type uppercase, SILKin box, it doesn't like it. So it's got to be lowercase. And then I can say that Alter refers to ego as Kermit refers to Betty as daughter. Now this doesn't capture terms of endearment, so they may have a special name for each other. This doesn't capture that. This is like, what does the culture say? That's your father, that's your mother, that sort of thing. And then we're going to click on Miss Piggy, and Betty refers to Miss Piggy as mother, and Alter refers to Miss Piggy refers to Betty as daughter. And then we can go over here to Fozzie, change, and then Betty refers to Fozzie as brother and sister. Actually, so this is interesting because in Thai, for example, if you look over here, I'm going to change Charlie Bet. He refers to Dolores. You can see that ego refers to Dolores as Nong Sao. I switched, or I'm mixing my language groups here, or culture groups, to demonstrate a difference. In Thai, age matters, relationship. So Charlie in this family, he's the oldest of all of the siblings. So he'll refer to Dolores as Nong Sao, and he'll refer to Evelyn would be as also Nong Sao. And then Dolores would refer to, oh, sorry, go back here. Dolores would refer to Charlie as P, and Evelyn would refer to Charlie as P. But also, if we make this Dolores as the ego, Evelyn will refer to Dolores as P. So we need to know who is the older sibling. So let's say in this instance, Betty is the older sibling. She's going to refer to Fozzie as Nong Chai, and Fozzie will refer to Betty as P Sao. So because that matters in Thai, and of course, capitals doesn't like it. All right. Also in Thai, so you can see if I change my person to my ego to Charlie, in Thai, the grandparent is different. So the child will refer to the father's grandparents by a different term than the child will refer to the mother's grandparents. In American English, while we have all kind of pet names and silly names, we still use the phrase grandma, grandpa for both sides. And that doesn't include, like, we might refer to one grandma as Nana and all that stuff, and Meemaw in the South, but in general, it's grandma or grandpa, both sets. Thai, it's different. So we need to put the Thai term for the mother and father here. And I had a list up somewhere to remind me of what that was, and I have forgotten it. I've lost it. So we're going to say Charlie refers to a mother's father as, yeah, that's not correct. Just going to call it grandpa for this demonstration. But it doesn't like the capital. But the grandfather will refer to the son as grandson. It doesn't matter if it's if it's a son's son or a daughter's son. And then Charlie will refer to Miss Piggy as grandma. In this example, that's not correct for Thai. And then Miss grandma will refer to Charlie as grandson. And then you just work your way through all the relationships. And then so when you're done, you've captured family terms, kinship terms for the language. And you can capture this information, and then you can analyze it. One way to analyze it is you can make a picture out of it using like the snip tool, and just copy and paste it into as an image, like a Windows snip. Or you can go to, where'd it go? Edit, context, which is kind of an admittedly weird place for it to be. And you have this export matrix tool. And I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to save it in my lesser apps demonstration, SILKin. All right, I'm going to call it examples 2. Gotta give it, there's a little bit of pain with this tool, but it's here. Example 2. And I want to save as a text file. But what I must end in text. Yes, there's a bit of pain with this one. Lesser apps demonstration, SILKin. Save. And then what you can do is, this is the one I made earlier. If you rename this, I'm going to rename this to CSV. Actually, I'll do it this way. A comma separated file. And then you can right click open with, where's open with? Open with LibreOffice Calc, and tell it you want it to be separated by tab. Now you get a spreadsheet that you can look at, and you can see all of the various terms. So you can see that mother is common, daughter's common, sister's common. And then when you get out to the, you can see that you can capture the P's and the nongs, and you can do a little bit of analysis on that, and you can see, you can notice that the grandmother, grandfather, they use different terms. So this presents you with an Excel spreadsheet, or a spreadsheet that you can then use to analyze the terms being used to help you understand the kinship term. So that's SILKin. Again, there's a little bit of pain with it, but it can work for you. So I'm going to close SILKin. Okay, all right. Continuing on with the analysis tools, we're going to come to something called LingTree. And LingTree is a tool that helps you diagram sentences. My 7-year-old son was doing this for English grammar. And so you can't avoid diagramming sentences no matter what you do. But how do you diagram sentences for languages that haven't been analyzed yet? Well, LingTree can help you figure that out. So I'm going to pull it up. And this is LingTree, and all you need to do is put in the sentence and the noun phrase and the verb phrase, and you click on this little button here, and it'll draw your sentence for you. So this is an example of sentence, noun phrase, verb phrase, and it did, actually let's do new tree. And so here's a new tree, and you can type your sentences in, hit the button. Or you can, with your sentence, you can add the information. Like this is straight out of the documentation. If I were to attempt to diagram a sentence any more complicated than this, you would pretty quickly get the idea that I don't know what I'm doing. So you can see this is the sentence. The noun phrase is Lee. The verb phrase, gets is the verb. Then another noun phrase that goes along with it is the determiner, the, and the idea, with the noun being the idea. So then you click the little thing here, and this is your tree. And so you can export this tree. You can save as PNG. It's going to save as PNG and as or SVG, whichever one you want. And then you just click Save Tree. And it'll be where your file is located. And where'd it go? Save tree as documents, my LingTree. Okay, so if I were to go to documents, my LingTree on my computer, documents, my LingTree, you can see that it just made my sentence new tree right here. This is the sentence, and this is his diagram, and I can paste that into a Word document or wherever I'm needing to put my trees. And so that is the LingTree. And LingTree can get as complicated as your sentence. But I just wanted to show that it's there. It's a lot easier than having to do it in Word and getting your slants right on your angles and then putting in brackets. LingTree does one thing and it does it very well. All right, so I'm going to close LingTree. Okay. The next tool is a tool that is actually near and dear to my heart. It's called Sheetswiper. Now, in our when talking to our lexicography consultant here, he says that ideally before you get into Flex, you've collected some lists of words into Excel, and you've either identified the orthography well enough to use or a well-defined way of marking up the sounds in IPA. So it may change over time, but you've got an idea what you want to do. But that will exist in Excel. Well, if you want to get into Flex, you can either create new entries for every word you have, which you can do. But if you've got an example set in Excel of 1,000 words, that can get pretty problematic. So enter Sheetswiper. I'm going to bring up my folder here and go to my documents. Where did my thing go? Sheetswiper. Okay, so Sheetswiper is just a little file you download and you run it. You don't install it. You run it as it is. And it brings up this file. And all you really need to do, I'm going to open up my Excel spreadsheet. This is my data. You can see I've got a series of rows at the columns. They're marked with the slash SFM marker, so slash LX, slash PH pronunciation, part of speech, gloss Thai, gloss English. This is well formed. You kind of do the work in Excel before you bring it in. I'm going to go ahead and close it. And it has to be XLS. It can't be XLSX. Sheetswiper is kind of old, but it works. It works for XLS. It doesn't work for SLX. You'll get an error. Then all you need to do is drag it. And this is an example of what it's going to look like. So -LX/PH and work on the way down. And provided that your data is clean in Excel, it will be clean in here. Then you click Save SFM. And I'm going to put it in my lesser apps demonstration. And I'll close Sheetswiper. And this is my file. I'm going to open this in my favorite editor, Notepad++. And you can see it's in SFM -LX/PH-PS, gloss Thai, gloss English. And then I can just run through the importation process in Flex. So rather than typing each one of these by hand in Flex, and if you have 1,000 entries, that could take quite a while, you just make sure that your spreadsheet is clean, which you should do along the way anyway, and run it through the Sheetswiper process, and you'll have it inside of Flex in like 10 minutes, maybe 15. But it is quite slick. This has helped me out many times when I've helped people move from Toolbox into Flex. So Sheetswiper, it does one thing and it does it very well. So that is Sheetswiper. That ends my demonstration of analysis tools. Now we're going to show something along the lines of the things that you can do for sharing and publication. So let's say this is going to be Lexique Pro. So let's say you've got a well-formed dictionary and you want to share it. There are several options available to you, which we've demonstrated in the past in different videos. Webinary, Dictionary App Builder, and Print. There's also a tool that you can use to make a dictionary that is suitable for viewing as a Windows application. It's called Lexique Pro. So I'm going to bring that up. Here's my example of Lexique Pro. Okay. This is Lexique Pro. Lexique Pro can read lift files. So you go into Flex and you get your dictionary set the way you want it with the information that you want to have. And then you have, actually, I'll bring it up. Bring up Flex. You tell, this is Flex. You tell Flex, you get the dictionary, text and words, lexicon. You have the entries that you want to display in your dictionary set up through various filterings. And then you just go to File, Export, And of course, it comes over here. Filtered lexicon, and then you click export, and that will create the lift file, and it'll bring along any images that you have with your data, which is what you want. Any images, any audio, because this is Windows. Windows can handle multimedia, is not print. I'm going to cancel this. I just wanted to show you it's as simple as that. And then you just go to File, Open, and you just find your lift file. This is the lift file I exported out of Flex, and click Open, and it'll run through the process. And so these are all my entries that I have. You see my entry right now has 287 words, and you can see here I have, this word has an image. It also has audio.
Cày. Cày.
All right. So I can go back to home. I can do some configuration. So tools, configure, display. I want the alphabet buttons. Why does it not have the alphabet buttons? Interesting. I am in a demonstration mode. A minute ago, when I had this pulled up, I had alphabet buttons. So I'm closing it and opening it again. And of course, they're not here now. I don't know why that is, but they were here a minute ago, which is frustrating. Because I wanted to show that you can have buttons off to the right and off to the left that help you search. You can search English, like I can search for chicken. I don't know if, and of course, it's finding children. Here's I did a search for chicken. I was searching in the wrong place. All right. Oh, this is sort. Sorry. So I can catalog. I can search alphabetize based on the English gloss, alphabetize based on Thai. But then it exists in Lexique Pro. The nice thing about Lexique Pro is it has this tools distribute lexicon option. And this will actually make an executable that is a Windows product. That is a Windows application you can install. And it tells me I want to use the lift file, click next, and tells me this is going to have 2 images, 69 sound files, click next. And this is the information. I can edit this a bit. I'm not going to bother with it now. Information about the project. I want to encrypt it, some yes or no. Do I want people to print? There may be reasons not to, I don't know. And then click next. And I'm going to hit cancel button here, but it makes an executable file that you then just install, and then you just run. And that will bring up where is my file? Oh, here it is. So this is the executable I created a while ago. I'm going to close Lexique Pro, the application. This is the English file, the dictionary. I click on home, and you can see I have Thai here, and I can then browse, and I can put this file on multimedia, and I can put it on like on a webinar page. People can download it and they can look at it. All right, so that is Lexique Pro. All right, I'm going to close this. The next thing I want to show is a tool called PAWS. PAWS. I'm just intrigued. I got intrigued by PAWS simply because the logo. It's 2 little paws. I never really looked at it, but the logo always intrigued me. I just thought it was fun. So we're going to look at it now. PAWS, as it turns out, is a parser and a writer for syntax, where the word pause comes from. In our organization, we're always encouraged to produce, to write, to document, to share the information we have. But that is a lot of work, and people don't. And a lot of our translators and linguists are among the most overworked people in our organization, and it's like they just have a hard time sitting down and writing and documenting grammars and things. So this software tool called PAWS was designed to help facilitate that. And what PAWS is, it basically, if you give it information, if you answer a series of questions, PAWS will give you a rough, according to the documentation, if you answer all these questions, which are things people know, if you work at a language for a couple of years, you have this information in your head. You just need to get it on paper. If you just work down the steps, you'll get it out of your head onto paper. And then when you're all done, you click the create documents, generate files, and then all of a sudden you have a grammar that's about 100 pages long and is most of the way there. So if I were to attempt to, I'll show you some questions. So these are overall typology questions, and just kind of work your way through them, answer some questions. And I'm not going to try to answer them because it'll portray my definite lack of knowledge. Just kind of work through them, and you work through them over time. You don't sit down at one go. It remembers and saves. So with PAWS, the documentation for it actually has a Google slide presentation that I'm going to demonstrate, show kind of how it works. PAWS was a parser and writer for syntax, an easier way to write a grammar. Which do you think is easier, starting to write with a stack of blank paper or answering a series of questions? Some people might think a blank piece of paper is awesome. I needed to be prompted and guided. So in their example, they actually had a grammar workshop where it wasn't just the two linguists sitting down or a few linguists sitting down and hashing it out. It was actually a workshop where they just went through the stages. So in this example, in Mitla in 2013, there were 29 participants in 15 languages. Some of them were in teams and others worked individually. And when they were done, they had a draft of these are drafts of their very first grammar. And so it's an encouragement that you can do it too. So this would be interesting. And then some of the, and each page consists of an introduction to the construction, and underlying technical terms of pop-ups, and examples in English. And then you fill them out. You just fill them out as you go. Right now, this is localized in Spanish and French, which stands to reason. It was started in Mexico, so Spanish would be a language of wider communication, and also French is an international language for linguistics. But English would work for us, I think, especially if we were guiding people through the process. And then you just kind of work your way through, and once you start editing the grammar file, with maybe about 100 pages. And then there's some XML editors that you can use that I'm not going to demonstrate now. But I thought it would be just enough to get started. And when you're done, you have a grammar file. You have a file or a workshop. You have a grammar that can be shared. So that is PAWS. All right. Another tool I wanted to demonstrate is, it's referred to as the OpenOffice Linguistic Tools. I think that's a misnomer on the particular page here. It's internal to the application itself. It's referred to as the LibreOffice Linguistic Tool, which is the more common of the free Office tools. It's a plugin for LibreOffice, so you download it and you install it, and then you have it available to you as an option in your menu for your LibreOffice writer. And the LibreOffice Linguistic Tool is just a tool that helps you when you're inserting text from text and word, analyze text from text and words into a research paper. So I'm going to bring up Flex again and bring it into text and words. So this is my example Flex project, and I'm in text and words. So I go File, Export into linear, export it as Flex text, and export it. And I tell you which examples I want to check. I'm just going to do this one, the sibling relations. I can check as many as I want, but for this example, I'm just going to use one. Hit the OK button, and I would just export it here. I'm not going to overwrite it, but then it brings all this other stuff that I don't really need. Actually, no, Flex text doesn't bring that. I'm sorry. Hit the OK save button. Actually, I did say I hit the cancel button. Get this out of the way, and then I need to instruct the plugin where to go to look. So I'm going to click on Linguistics and then interlinear settings. You can see I've already added it. You just click on add, and then it's the browse button, and then you find the one you're after, and there you are. And you can have more than one. I'm only using one in my example. And then I'm hitting the OK button, and then it will search through my flex text because it's XML and hierarchical, and it will know all of my examples. So I can now say, this is an example, and I don't know why that text is green. It must be from something else. Font color black, and then I click on Linguistic Tool and get interlinear example, and now I scroll down my list and I can see I have 1.1, 2.1, 3.1, and this, I'll bring my flex back over right now. This correlates to what are referred to as the paragraph marks in flex. Most people I know, they just have one line per number. There's actually, in flex, this is actually a paragraph. Most people don't use it that way, but it's actually a paragraph. So I could have multiple paragraphs. My example doesn't have it, but I could have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, each sentence in the paragraph being a sentence in the paragraph. You can see I have 2, but it's blank, it's empty, and I have 3, 3.1. And so 1.1 is here with the free translation of James is the younger brother of Edward. So I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to tell it to, I want to pick 1.1 here and insert example. And now you can see it's brought in 1.1. James is the younger brother of Edward. Now I can also, if I'm just trucking right along and I'm in kind of in a flow and I know what examples I want to insert, I can say this is another I can have pound 2.1. This is a third example. Pound 3.1. It knows, and then I go up to Linguistics and get interlinear examples, and I can click Find Next, and it knows the hashtag 2.1, and I can say replace with example. I should have said 3.1. That's a mistake. And I can hit, and then it goes to the next one, and I can click replace all. I'm actually going to do this just to show what replace all looks like. And I'm actually going to delete this because that was a mistake. Actually, I would make this, because mistakes happen, right? And then make this 4.1. Make sure over here 4.1. Actually, 4.1 is empty. 5.1 is the example I want to use. Just looking at my flex. Go to Linguistics, get an linear example. Find next. Find next. No more reference numbers are found. I'm going to click replace all. And replace 2 examples. So it's replaced the 2.1 with, or it replaced the 3.1 with the example, and it's given it a number. So there's my reference numbers 2 and 3. And so I can just work on down the line. Now, another thing I found that you can do with the LibreOffice tool is you can get phonology examples. And again, this works similar. You go to phonology settings, and it's looking for the lift file. So like with Lexique Pro, you export lift. In this, you would export Lexique Pro. You would export lift. Now, at the moment, as far as I can tell, the phonology tool will look in your source field. So I'm going to open up my Flex project and go to come over here. I'm going to show you, this is my Flex project. I've highlighted my sources column. It looks in here for information. So yeah, I'm going to bring that over, and so that could cause a problem if you have actual source information in there. I think that's kind of a mistake, and I'll see if I can figure out. There is a way to actually get the plugin to look for a different field, but I didn't have time to figure that out. I'll probably learn how to do that and make a separate video for how to do that. but for the example here, I'm just going to go with it as it's demonstrated. And then I'm going to, this is a phonology example. And I click Linguistics get phonology example. And I'm going to insert source 101 and hit insert example. And now you can see this is the phonology example. This is the text as written in orthography. This is how it's pronounced. This is the English, and this is the reference. You can delete any of this stuff. I can make the spacing go away. I can add more. So that's in here. And within the tool, you can change the way the various parts are colored. You can have them all black or all not if you don't want, if you want. So this is a tool designed by someone to help them inserting text and word examples in a paper, or phonology examples in a paper. So that is the linguistic tool, and there are more things in here that I didn't have a chance to play with. So that's the LibreOffice Writer tool, even though it's referred to in, I'm going to close this, on the products page as OpenOffice Linguistics Tool. It's LibreOffice Linguistics Tool. All right. So that is, so we've worked through survey, we've worked through data sharing and analysis. Now we're going to switch gears almost entirely to a somewhat lesser known translation aid tool. And it's not really a translation aid, it's more of a community checking, community comprehension testing tool. And that's called Transcelerator. And it's a plugin for Paratext. And so I found it quite interesting. You just download it and then you run it. And then you have to run it with Paratext turned off. Or if you install it with Paratext on, you have to close Paratext and open it again. I'm going to bring Paratext over. And you click on project. This is Paratext 9.1. And you click on the project. And now underneath tools, this didn't exist before, there's a tool called Transcelerator. And Transcelerator is a series of canned questions over text. So it's questions in English form. Of course, it opens up on the other screen. And you can see I'm in the book of Philemon. This is my example project. And so I have set flex, or sorry, I have set Transcelerator to only show the questions relating to the book of Philemon. And here's the English question. And here is the translation. And here you can mark whether or not it's confirmed. It's a good translation of the text. And you can see that it does try to prompt some, like if it pulls words, if it knows that you've translated certain words certain ways, it'll go ahead and add them in. This is not a good example because I'm using an English text with English questions and an English translation. But let's say if I were to go down to, go to Philemon 23 and 24. To whom does Paul send greetings? So I can look at Philemon 23, 24. Let's say that's the text. Then I go back to Transcelerator, and this is, I'm using a canned answer here, but it's because it's English. Who does Paul want to know he is thinking of them? And let's say we run through the review process and we think this is a good question. We hit the confirmed button. All right, so it's a confirmed question. Maybe you can't uncheck it. So, but I go through my list and I have confirmed questions. Filter, or where did it go? File, generate checking script. And I want to do just Philemon. And now Philemon's one, it's a small book, but if it was a large book like Luke or something, I can just say sections within Philemon or other things. There are other options, appearance, just general. I'm going to hit OK. I don't have It's just saying untranslated questions will be excluded. That's fine. I hit yes, and it brings up an HTML page, which is the script of all my confirmed questions, and then I can take this out to a village environment, and I can ask the question, and people can give the answers. So it's a good way of getting at community understanding. And if you'll look at Transcelerator, one of the interesting things about it is produce scripture forge files. So you can actually take your Transcelerator questions, generate scripture forge files, include them in your scripture forge project if you have one, and then you can open up the community checking process to whomever you've given access to your scripture forge. So you don't actually have to take your piece of paper out to wherever and ask questions. Like in a community setting, you can give it to people and they can access it over the phone or over their computer, however you have scripture forge set up if you're using it. So that's very nice. The other thing I would say about Transcelerator is I think it's actually, it can do I think it can do a lot more than what even the Transcelerator developers intended for it. So it's designed to be used as community checking. But when I think of these questions that go along with the text, I think I have a Through the Bible in 3 years study set that I've used. And it's got a reading plan. I read a section, and then it gets some questions to prompt thinking. So there's nothing saying you've already got the questions translated. There's nothing saying you can't take the same questions that you've used in Transcelerator for community checking, bundle them into some sort of Bible study product, and give it out as scripture engagement. The questions can exist outside of community checking pre-publication. It can exist inside of a Bible study program or inside of a Sunday school environment or anything of that nature. So it really can be helpful. And of course, it goes without saying that just because the question exists in Transcelerator, it doesn't mean you have to ask the question. In some other context, someone said you need to make sure it's an appropriate question. Like, well, of course, but the question's here, and you can also add your own questions. You're not stuck with what's canned. But if you're like me and have trouble coming up with things on my own, Transcelerator is there as a guide. It's a help, and maybe it can be used to spur other questions within the text to get at understanding. So that is Transcelerator, a plugin for Paratext, which can be used to assist in community checking and can be used in conjunction with the Scripture Forge project. So that is that. All right. So that really is the sum total of all I have prepared for today with my my lesser known products.